Our story begins a very long time ago, around 10,000 years in the past. This was a special time in human history. People were learning to stop wandering and start building villages. They became farmers. They planted grains like wheat and barley. They stored these grains in big buildings called granaries. This was a huge change for humans. It meant they had a steady supply of food. They no longer needed to hunt every single day. They could stay in one place and build a community. This new way of life, however, created a brand new problem that people had not anticipated. A problem that scurried and squeaked in the shadows of their new homes. These large stores of grain were like a giant dinner invitation for small, unwanted guests. Mice and rats discovered this wonderful new food source. They moved into the human settlements and multiplied very quickly. They ate the stored grain, which was a disaster for the farmers. The food people worked so hard to grow was being stolen right from under their noses. This was a serious issue. It threatened the survival of the entire village. People needed a solution. They needed a hero to protect their precious food. Little did they know that hero was already nearby, watching from the edges of the wild with keen, intelligent eyes, waiting for the perfect opportunity. The hero was a small wildcat, known as the African wildcat, Felis sylvestris libica. These cats were shy and solitary hunters. They were experts at catching small animals. They saw the human villages not as a threat, but as a fantastic hunting ground. The towns were overflowing with mice and rats, their favorite prey. It was an all-you-can-eat buffet. So, the bravest of these wildcats started to creep closer to the human settlements. They were not interested in the people. They were interested in the rodents that scurried around the granaries. Their natural hunting skills were exactly what the farmers needed, even if neither side understood it at first. This was the beginning of a beautiful, unspoken agreement. The cats did not need to be tamed or put in cages. They chose to come closer to people. This is very different from how dogs were domesticated. Dogs were actively trained by humans for hunting and protection. Cats, on the other hand, domesticated themselves. They saw an advantage to living near humans, and they took it. The people soon noticed that the villages with cats had fewer mice. Their grain stores were safer. So, they let the cats stay. They might have left out scraps of food to encourage them. It was a perfect partnership, a win-win situation born of mutual need. The arrangement between humans and cats was simple but incredibly effective. The cats were given a safe place to live with a constant supply of their natural food rodents. In return, the humans got the best pest control service in the world. A single cat could keep a large area free from mice and rats. This was much better than any traps the early farmers could invent. The cats were silent, efficient, and worked day and night. They protected the food that the entire community depended upon. This service was so valuable that it cemented the cat's place within human society. They were no longer just wild animals. They were useful members of the community. This partnership was based on the cat's natural behavior. Humans did not have to teach a cat how to hunt. It was already a perfect killing machine, finely tuned by millions of years of evolution. Their sharp claws, keen eyesight, and silent paws made them ideal for the job. The farmers simply had to allow the cats to do what they do best. This is a key reason why the bond between cats and humans is so unique. It was not a relationship of master and servant. It was more like a business contract, where both parties received a significant benefit. The cats got food and safety, and the humans got to keep their harvest intact. As villages grew into towns and towns into cities, the role of the cat became even more important. More people meant more food storage, and more food storage meant more pests. Cats were essential workers in these bustling new urban centers. They patrolled granaries, bakeries, and homes, keeping the rodent population under control. This was not just about saving food. Rats and mice can carry dangerous diseases. By keeping the number of rodents down, cats also help to protect human health. They were silent guardians, contributing to the safety and well-being of the city in a way that few people probably stopped to consider at the time. The evidence for this early relationship is found in archaeology. In Cyprus, a grave was discovered that is about 9,500 years old. Inside, archaeologists found the skeleton of a human buried next to the skeleton of a cat. The two were buried together. This shows that the cat was not just a random animal that died nearby. It had a special connection to the person. This was long before the Egyptians famously worshipped cats. It tells us that even in the very beginning, a bond of affection had already started to form. These animals were not just workers. They were becoming companions, valued for more than just their hunting skills. Even though cats have lived with us for thousands of years, they have not changed as much as dogs. Your pet cat sitting on your sofa shares a huge amount of its DNA with its wild ancestor, the African wildcat. This is because we never needed to change them very much. Their natural instincts were already perfect for the job we wanted them to do. We did not breed them to herd sheep or pull sleds. We just needed them to be excellent hunters. As a result, the wild heart of the cat still beats strongly within our domestic companions. Their independence, their hunting prowess, and their territorial nature are all direct echoes from their past. Think about how your cat plays. When it chases a laser pointer or a feather on a string, it is not just having fun. It is practicing ancient hunting skills. The crouch, the stalk, the wiggle of the rear end just before the pounce. These are the exact same moves its wild ancestors used to catch prey. The cat is a predator at its core. Even a well-fed house cat that has never been hungry in its life cannot resist the urge to hunt. This instinct is hardwired into its brain. It is a fundamental part of what makes a cat a cat. We have given them soft beds and full food bowls, but we have not erased their wild spirit. This wildness is also why cats often seem so independent and aloof. Unlike dogs, which were bred to work in packs and obey a leader, cats evolved as solitary hunters. They had to rely on themselves for survival. This self-sufficiency is still a major part of their personality today. A cat does not necessarily see you as its master. It is more likely to see you as a large, slightly clumsy, but generally benevolent fellow cat who happens to be very good at opening cans of food. They form strong bonds with us, but it is a bond between equals, at least in their minds. This independence is not a sign of dislike, it is a sign of their ancient heritage. Another trait passed down from their wild ancestors is their territorial nature. A wild cat needed to defend its hunting ground to ensure it had enough food. Your pet cat does the same thing, but its territory is your house and garden. When your cat rubs its face on your legs or on the furniture, it is not just being affectionate. It is leaving its scent behind. It is marking its territory and claiming you as part of its domain. This behavior makes the cat feel safe and secure. It is turning your human house into a proper cat home, a place that smells familiar and belongs to them. Understanding these ancient instincts is the key to understanding your cat's behavior. Nowhere in history were cats more revered than in ancient Egypt. Around 4,000 years ago, the relationship with cats deepened from a practical partnership to one of religious worship. The Egyptians saw the cat as a symbol of grace, poise, and protection. They admired its elegance, its mysterious nature, and its fierce motherly instincts. Most importantly, they valued its ability to kill snakes, scorpions, and rats, which were common dangers in Egypt. The cat was not just a pest controller, it was a protector of the home and a guardian against evil. This deep respect elevated the cat to a divine status within their complex system of gods and goddesses. the most famous cat goddess was Bastet. Originally, she was depicted as a fierce lioness, a goddess of war. But over time, her image softened. She became the goddess of the home, fertility, and childbirth, and was shown with the head of a domestic cat. Huge temples were built in her honor, especially in the city of Bubastis. People would travel from all over Egypt to worship there. They brought offerings, including small bronze statues of cats, hoping to gain the goddess's favor. To harm a cat, even by accident, was considered a terrible crime. It could be punished by death. The cat had become a sacred animal, a physical representation of a powerful and beloved deity. The Egyptians' love for cats extended into the afterlife. They believed that mummifying a body was essential for the soul to reach the next world. This practice was not just for humans. Wealthy families would often have their beloved pet cats mummified and buried with them. They wanted to be reunited with their companions in the afterlife. Archaeologists have discovered vast cat cemeteries, containing hundreds of thousands of mummified cats. These were not all pets. Many were bred specifically to be sacrificed at the temples of Bastet and then mummified as offerings for the goddess. This shows the incredible scale of cat worship in ancient Egypt. This deep reverence meant that for a long time, the Egyptians tried to prevent anyone from taking cats out of their country. Cats were a national treasure. There are stories of special agents being sent to other lands to find and buy back any cats that had been smuggled out. Despite their best efforts, this was a losing battle. Traders and sailors from places like Greece and Rome visited Egypt. They saw how useful these amazing animals were. They secretly took cats aboard their ships, and from there, the Egyptian cat began its slow but steady journey to conquer the rest of the world, carrying its sacred legacy with it. As cats began their journey out of Egypt, they also found a welcoming home in the East. In China, the story of the cat starts a little differently. Archaeological evidence suggests that cats may have started living alongside farmers in China over 5,000 years ago, possibly as a separate domestication event involving a local wildcat subspecies. However, the domestic cat we know today, descended from the Egyptian lineage, also arrived later via the maritime Silk Road. Regardless of their exact origin, they were valued for the very same reason they were in the Fertile Crescent. They were exceptional hunters of the rodents that plagued grain stores. Their role as guardians of the harvest was their ticket into Chinese society. In early Chinese culture, cats were primarily seen as practical and beneficial animals. They were symbols of good fortune and peace, because a household with a cat was a household protected from famine. Farmers would welcome them, and even create ceramic sculptures of cats to place in their homes and granaries, hoping to attract the real thing, or at least scare away the rodents. The Chinese word for cat, Mao, sounds similar to the word for an octogenarian, and so cats also became associated with the wish for a long life. They were considered auspicious creatures that brought prosperity and longevity to the family they chose to live with. Over time, during dynasties like the Tang and Song, the status of the cat evolved. As society became more prosperous, the wealthy elite began to appreciate cats for more than just their mauling abilities. They were admired for their beauty, grace, and playful nature. They became pampered pets of the imperial court and scholarly class. Artists and poets celebrated them in their work. They painted beautiful images of cats playing in gardens with butterflies or sleeping peacefully on silk cushions. The cat was no longer just a worker. It was a source of aesthetic pleasure and a beloved companion, a living piece of art that brought joy and tranquility to the household. Despite this elevation to pet status among the rich, the cat never lost its reputation as a hard-working guardian for the common person. This dual identity is a key part of the cat's history in China. For the farmer, It was a vital ally in the fight for survival. For the scholar or court lady, it was a charming and elegant companion. This versatility allowed the cat to fit into every level of society. It could be a fierce protector of the nation's food supply and, at the same time, a gentle friend snoozing by the fire. This adaptability is really a testament to the cat's unique ability to build a relationship with humans on its own terms. The journey of the cat through Europe took a dark and tragic turn during the Middle Ages. As cats spread from the Roman Empire, they were initially valued for their pest control skills, just as they had been elsewhere. They were common sights in monasteries, where they protected precious manuscripts from being eaten by mice, and on farms, where they guarded grain. However, as the centuries passed, superstition and fear began to grow in medieval society. The cat's independent nature, its silent, nocturnal habits, and its glowing eyes in the dark started to be viewed with suspicion. People did not understand them, and what they did not understand, they began to fear. This fear became twisted and connected with beliefs about witchcraft and devil worship. The Church, in its efforts to stamp out pagan beliefs, began to associate cats, especially black cats, with evil. They were seen as the companions of witches, or even as witches themselves in disguise. The cat's natural independence was reinterpreted as a sign that it was not a creature of God. Its silence was seen as cunning, and its nocturnal hunting was seen as consorting with the forces of darkness. Folk tales and sermons were full of stories about cats being familiars, supernatural entities that assisted witches in their evil deeds. This association had horrifying consequences. Across Europe, cats were hunted, tortured, and killed in huge numbers. They were thrown into bonfires during festivals and subjected to cruel rituals, all in the belief that this would drive away evil spirits or the devil. The persecution was widespread and brutal. It was a terrible time for an animal that had once been so respected. This mass killing of cats had an unforeseen and devastating side effect. With fewer cats to hunt them, the population of rats exploded. This created the perfect conditions for the spread of disease, setting the stage for one of the greatest catastrophes in human history. Many historians believe that the persecution of cats was a contributing factor to the severity of the Black Death in the 14th century. This terrible plague was carried by fleas that lived on black rats. With their natural predators largely eliminated from many towns and cities, the rat population boomed, allowing the disease to spread with terrifying speed. It is a tragic irony. In their misguided fear, people had destroyed the very animal that could have helped protect them. It was a harsh lesson in the delicate balance of an ecosystem, and it would take centuries for the cat's reputation to recover from the damage done during this dark period. While cats faced persecution on land in some parts of Europe, they found a new and vital role on the high seas. The Age of Discovery, starting in the 15th century, saw European ships sailing to every corner of the globe. These long voyages had a serious problem: rats. Rats on ships were a catastrophe. They would eat the sailors' precious food supplies, chew through ropes and sails, and spread disease in the cramped quarters. A ship infested with rats might not be able to complete its journey. Sailors needed a solution, and they found the perfect one in the form of the ship's cat. Cats were brought aboard trading vessels, exploration ships, and naval warships. They were incredibly effective at controlling the rodent population. A ship with a cat or two was a safer, cleaner, and healthier ship. The cats were excellent sailors. Their natural balance and agility allowed them to navigate a rocking ship with ease. They were self-sufficient, requiring little care beyond the occasional scrap from the cook. They became an essential part of the crew, as important as the navigator or the carpenter. They were valued colleagues in the difficult and dangerous business of sailing the world's oceans. This role as seafarers is how the domestic cat completed its world tour. Wherever European ships landed, cats often came ashore with them. They jumped ship in the Americas, in Australia, in Africa, and on remote islands. In many of these places, there were no native small cat species. The ship's cats found new lands full of prey, and with few predators. They established new populations and quickly spread. This is how the domestic cat, whose ancestors came from the deserts of the Middle East, managed to colonize the entire planet. Every domestic cat in the Americas, for example, is a descendant of these tough, seafaring feline adventurers. These cats were not just workers. They often became beloved mascots and companions for the lonely sailors. They provided comfort and a touch of home during long, arduous months at sea. There are many famous stories of ship's cats, like Blackie, who was on board HMS Prince of Wales and met Winston Churchill, or Mrs. Chippy, who sailed to Antarctica on Ernest Shackleton's ill-fated Endurance expedition. These cats were cherished members of the crew, their presence boosting morale. Through their service on the high seas, cats not only spread across the globe, but also began to rebuild their reputation as helpful and loyal companions to humankind. Following their global travels and the slow fading of medieval superstitions, the 18th and 19th centuries saw the cat's reputation fully restored. During the Victorian era, the idea of keeping animals purely for companionship became fashionable. The cat, with its clean habits, quiet nature, and affectionate purr, was perfectly suited for this role. It moved from the barn and the ship's deck into the living room. It became a symbol of domestic comfort and tranquility, often pictured sleeping peacefully by the fireplace. The very picture of contentment. The cat was finally and firmly home. This period also saw the beginning of the deliberate breeding of cats. People started to take an interest in different colors, patterns, and body shapes. The first official cat show was held in London in 1871. It was a huge success. People flocked to see exotic breeds like the Persian, with its long, luxurious fur, and the elegant Siamese, imported from Thailand. This was a major turning point. Cats were now being judged not on their hunting ability, but on their beauty and pedigree. This created a whole new relationship between humans and cats, one based on aesthetics and the careful cultivation of specific traits. The modern world of cat fancy was born. As the 20th century progressed, the cat's position as the world's most popular pet became secure. The invention of prepared cat food and kitty litter in the mid-20th century made owning a cat easier and more convenient than ever before, especially for people living in cities and apartments. Cats did not need to be walked like dogs. They were perfectly happy indoors, provided they had food, water, a clean litter box, and affection. Their independent nature made them ideal pets for the increasingly busy lifestyles of modern people. They offered quiet companionship without demanding constant attention. Today, the cat is a cherished member of millions of households around the world. We value them for their comforting presence, their playful antics, and the unconditional affection they offer, on their own terms, of course. Scientific studies have shown that petting a cat can lower blood pressure and reduce stress. They are more than just pets. They are therapeutic companions. From a shy wildcat cautiously approaching a human village 10,000 years ago, the cat has completed an epic journey to become our trusted friend and a beloved member of our families. A soft, purring presence that makes a house a home. In the 21st century, the cat embarked on its latest and perhaps most surprising conquest, the internet. With the rise of social media and video sharing platforms, cats found a new kingdom to rule. Their funny, unpredictable, and often graceful behavior turned out to be perfect material for viral content. The same traits that have fascinated humans for thousands of years, their independence, their sudden bursts of energy, their majestic laziness, became the fuel for a global cultural phenomenon. The internet, it turned out, was made for cats. The first viral cat video set the stage for a complete feline takeover of our digital lives. Cat memes, from Grumpy Cat with her permanent scowl to the countless images of cats fitting into impossibly small boxes, became a universal language. You can share a cat meme with someone on the other side of the world. And even if you do not speak the same language, you both understand the humor. Cats on the internet provide a moment of shared joy and light-hearted distraction from the pressures of daily life. They do not care about politics or bad news. They are just busy being cats, and we find that endlessly entertaining. They have become the unofficial mascots of the digital world, their furry faces popping up in every corner of our online experience. This online fame has had a real-world impact. Celebrity cats can attract millions of followers, and their owners can build entire businesses around them. This has also brought more attention to animal welfare. The popularity of cats online encourages people to adopt cats from shelters. It raises awareness about rescue organizations and the importance of spaying and neutering. When a video of a cute kitten goes viral, it can inspire thousands of people to give a home to a cat in need. The internet has given cats a powerful new platform to charm their way into our hearts and homes. The journey of the cat is a truly remarkable story. It begins with a wild hunter, making a clever deal with early farmers. It passes through the temples of Egypt, the palaces of China, the dark alleys of medieval Europe, and the decks of globe-trotting ships. And now, it has reached its final frontier, our screens. The cat has never stopped adapting, using its unique charm and essential skills to forge a place alongside humanity. From sacred god to reviled demon, from humble pest controller to global internet superstar, the cat has proven to be the ultimate survivor. And as you scroll through your phone today, you are just the latest human in a long line to fall under its captivating spell.